here.
Yep.
We're going to go in the order of how it's written.
Yes.
Okay. We ready, Sandy? Just me? Good? Oh. Sometimes it works. Okay, tonight is February 21st, 2024, Town of Southington Board of Finance. This particular meeting is a workshop, or it's classified as a workshop, and the purpose of this meeting is to hear from key departments in the town regarding their budget. I don't have it in front of me, but I sent out a little bit of framework so that every presentation is somewhat similar, and I think it's great for not only us to hear what they do, put a name to a face, get a chance to question a little bit the departments, but also for the public. If it's two meetings the public really like, it's these two meetings where the town departments that actually serve the general public, they get to also watch these things and say, oh, that's what they did. I didn't know they did this, or it's very nice to see. So it's enlightening, and it lets them know in a way where the tax dollars go. So I think these are good meetings, and I thank everybody for setting them up, for all the department heads who had to come out at night to come and talk to us. But I do believe of all meetings, these are good ones. So I thank you, and we'll start with, do you just want to tee it off, Mark, and then invite your teams up?
As
These
you
are
know,
all your teams.
Right.
Or
As you know, in January, each department head submits and we go through each one of their budgets. I'm happy to say that 99% of the department heads' budgets and myself also jive this year. The one that obviously is one that's dear to our heart is community service. It always comes in with a very reasonable budget, and they do a lot with a little. So, Janet, you want to come on up, and it's page 74 and 75 in your budget.
Ah, that's nice. 74. I like the
Thank you, and I'm so happy you said key departments. That made me feel really good tonight.
Well, I don't want to leave out any small departments because they're all important.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you my name's Janet Mellon, if anybody hasn't met me. So Southington Community Services is a department of 129 people, and that's what it takes to run that department. There are 4 full-time staff, 10 seasonal staff, and 115 volunteers. And I have an asterisk. Those are 115 regular volunteers who are scheduled. We probably have another 300 that do different activities, deliver Thanksgiving baskets, deliver Christmas meals, deliver Thanksgiving meals, deliver book bags, deliver food to people that can't get to us. So it is a very large department, and it's really the volunteers in that office that make that department go. And we have the best volunteers in the world. Our department reaches out and works with the community. We work with consumers, businesses, civic groups, residents, and the clergy. Our funds are raised from local and state grants, fundraising, and, of course, the very generous community of Southington. This is probably the most generous community in the state. I say that. They just support everything. Some of our services, we have many services. I went to speak at a church, and I spoke for 2 hours about our office, but I know I just have a limited time, so I'm just giving you the quick ones. So our office is 24/7 response to fire and police. Also, building, health. We're called out 2 or 3 in the morning. We're happy to be there to do whatever we can to make it easier for Southington residents. We try to help with the prevention of eviction and foreclosure. Energy assistance, we do the state, and we do emergency in our office, so we do both. We help people get on state programs. We do holiday assistance. And community services is the town fair housing and relocation agency. And on a side note, for fair housing, we get a lot of calls. And in my entire time here, we had 1 actual fair housing that was a problem. And between our office, fair housing in Hartford, and the tenant, we were able to work everything out. So we really have a very good town with landlords, too. We've been very fortunate. Our food pantry is open 40 hours a week. We have 1,000 families pre-qualified and registered. That's families, not individuals. An example is a monthly bill is a minimum of $4,000 to run that pantry. We never get under $4,000. This fiscal year, we had 3 months that we spent $15,000 a month on food when we weren't able to get it from Food Share. And like I said, all that money is raised by the residents and donations. Some of our newest programs that we're really excited about, we do lunch, learn, and bingo. We go to the senior community rooms. We have a speaker. They're going to learn something that pertains to them. We're going to have lunch, and then we play bingo, and they win $10 gift cards. One of our other programs we started was Pop-Up Prom. Last year we gave out 32 long dresses, 13 short dresses, and 3 suits. I think that the boys didn't realize we have suits, so I think we're going to have a bigger turnout with suits. We also have shoes, jewelry. All these things are donated by people. We don't spend 1 penny on the Pop-Up Prom program. For the first time, we did Project Warmth, where we went out with clothing. We actually took it on the road to all the senior community rooms. And this fiscal year, this season, we gave out 700 winter coats just this year to Southington residents. It was a great success. When we did go to the senior community rooms, we did it during December, so we made it a little holiday party for them, and it was great. And those coats, again, were all donated. And the month of April, our office is doing a town-wide coat drive. We have most of the banks on board, a lot of the businesses, all the civic groups are all excited. Not only are they going to donate coats, but they're also going to work when we're going to open up a place like we do for 2 months, and it's going to be sponsored by the Rotary Club, sponsored by the Kiwanis Club, by the Lions Club, and we'll have volunteers doing it. We're really excited about that. So we're really here for the residents of Southington. You can come in with any problem, and we'll try to help. We can't help everyone, but if we can, we're going to do all we can do. So a few of the things I want to say about our budget so people understand. Rotary Club purchased our pickup truck. So Rotary Club, thank you. Friends of Community Services purchased 2 of our vans. Thank you, Friends of Community Services. Main Street Community Foundation during COVID bought a generator. So our entire office, and we had last month, there was a pole that went down, and within 1 minute, our freezers, our refrigerators, our computers, all our lights went on. It was wonderful to have a generator. Staff and volunteers maintain the interior and exterior of the building, and I thank them very much. During COVID, we took steps to make the office safe for both consumers, staff, and volunteers. And we did that with no funds from the town. And we did a great job. Our only increase, and I say this, and it's probably not, is $1,000, and that's for some necessary repairs. The other increase would be salary negotiation, and then our seasonal people receive minimum wage, but that went up. So other than that, it's just $1,000. And I wanted you to look, when you look at the $5,000 line item for relocation, those aren't funds that we're going to use for our office. Those are funds because we're the relocation agency, our department, that if it happens, it could cost up to $30,000. Hopefully it won't happen, but it's a state law, so we have to have funds available, and we're the agency that runs it for the town, along with the town attorney and town manager. So that's money, hopefully, that will go back every year, and we'll never touch it. It's only for one particular program. In the past, we had 3 relocations, and they were very expensive, so now we have it as a line item. But other than that, we're very proud of our budget. We're very proud of our volunteers, and I love my job.
Thank God.
That shows. You're doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're not retiring, right? Another 20.
You know what? It's not a job, it's a calling. You know, it's like on my way here, I was saying I got a phone call. It was pretty distressful. And then I had to call Officer Chris Laporte, who's an unsung hero, and then call a few other people. We had to work on some stuff. It's like, that's just making someone's day a little bit better. And it's a great feeling. And it's because of this town. The council, the town manager, everybody is so supportive. I can't thank everybody enough.
If I may.
Please, please.
I don't see budget here for the food.
All food is purchased. We use no town money for food, no town money for rents, no town money for mortgage. We use no town money for services or supplies for residents. We raise it by fundraisers for donations, so there is no money for that in the budget. And there shouldn't be.
So we're just paying for the infrastructure,
Correct. So if anybody makes,
the shell.
yeah, if anybody makes a donation, it's 100%. It could pay a rent, it could pay a mortgage, could buy food. So we take no money for those services. So we're very proud that we raise enough money every year to take care of any person that's qualified to receive that program. We've never turned anybody away that
Those
was eligible.
Come to you folks on the board for appropriation to special revenue fund,
Oh, it's a special revenue fund.
Special revenue
There is a
fund.
watchdog on it.
209, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you guys
Yeah.
appropriate that, the council approves your minutes, and it gets recorded in our accounting system, reported, audited by our CPAs, and included in our annual audit, so,
Thank you.
just like every other fund.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is nice to know, Janet, that, people often don't know. They think we're going to tax them and then hand out the money and give people dresses and food. And some people may believe that's a perfectly good use of tax dollars, and some may say, oh, no. Charity has to be person to person. But I think we got a great model here. I agree with you that and just so everybody knows that we as a town provide the building and not all the work inside of it. Volunteers come in and dress it up. But even somebody put a lawn sprinkler in, right?
Yes.
You got the flowers get watered. But that's all donations and generous people. We provide the shell. We've got 4 people on the payroll, right?
Full-time and then
Full-time
seasonal.
And some
minimum,
seasonal.
yeah.
And then, like you said, you have trucks and different things that are just paid for by generous organizations and the civic clubs. And I guess we got to put out a plug to them, too. We need
We do.
all these kids in the community or younger people who say, I have nothing to do. They could basically own these civic clubs if they get involved, whatever their passion is, whether they want to be, junior volunteer firefighters, whether they want to be Lions like Mr. Stanforth, or what else we have, the Masons. All these clubs are Unico. All these clubs are represented right here and in the community. So we want to encourage people to join these clubs and be part of that machine that funnels time, talent, and treasure into programs like yours. And I don't know how what more we can do here, but we want to encourage people to carry that on long after us, because this model works.
And I have a plan for the future. So we have to make sure we can always raise enough money and never ask the town manager for, because I don't believe we should be using taxpayers' money either. So we have a couple things in the works right now, which is going to be wonderful. The other thing is, 15 years ago, 2 of my friends, one is deceased and the other moved far away. We started 2 foundations on Main Street. So when I leave, I want our money, it'll go to finance, don't worry, Jim, for our office. So we made that plan. We actually made a third fund in New Britain. And now Friends has a wonderful opportunity, and we're hoping it works, and we should be fine for money for years. So, thank you.
Can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for everything you do.
Janet, how many homeless, let's call it people, do you think that we have in town on average?
So,
And
for
I thought
some,
a few years ago, we were close to 0. We worked it hard.
we did. There was a program with 211, and they all received apartments with vouchers. At that time, didn't have to pay. So if we're talking Southington residents, I would say we have 3 to 4 families. If we're talking other residents, we have probably 20, which we just discovered recently, living in their cars.
Those are visitors that decided to stay, as opposed to a Southington family.
Yeah.
Well, they're living in their cars, or yeah,
Okay.
or in in their cars.
Thanks for everything you do, because you're
Thank
probably
you.
the most important department for giving back to the town.
And the town really gives back to this department every single day.
And we always hope when you come to these meetings that you now like to come and you're comfortable coming, right? As opposed to when we first
Not really.
when we first met years ago, it was different, right? 2007 or so, the world was different in Southington, and now it's a great relationship I think this board has with Southington Community Service.
Oh, thank you. I still have that one on tape. Yes, thank you.
And I watched the tape before I got elected. But I'm glad that it's so important that every department always feel like they can interact with this board anytime. A formal meeting like this, or anytime you got to pick up the phone and say, I have an idea, I have a question.
There's 4 or 5 board members that donate to our office, so thank you.
All right, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, our next group is the combined departments of planning and building. It's under the direction of Jeremy's out there, and both out there, so why don't you come on up? Jeremy's the director, and Jeff is our building official, so both come at the same time would be great. Oh, and the pages 94 through 97.
Good evening, everybody. If I have not met you yet, Jeremy DeCarli, Director of Planning and Community Development. I apologize. The title gets to me every single time. There's a lot of words there. So, good evening.
We don't have raises, just titles.
just a title. It's just a lot of words. Just a lot to spit out. The planning department consists of 5 full-time members, myself, our assistant planner and environmental planner, Dave LaValle, our zoning enforcement officer, and 2 administrative assistants. Primary purpose of our department is to ensure orderly development of the town and to ensure long-term health, safety, and welfare of its residents. Through good land use planning, a town can ensure continued growth while protecting property values and respecting the history of the town. The department is responsible for the staffing of the Planning and Zoning Commission, the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Conservation Commission, and the Open Space Committee. Staff members also provide support and participate with the Economic Development Strike Committee and the Apple Harvest Committee. Staff is responsible for assisting residents and property owners with the understanding of the zoning and wetland regulations, as well as enforcing those regs. Staff facilitates applications to all 3 land use commissions, and we're also responsible for reviewing and issuing individual zoning permits. Those are administrative permits that don't go before any of the commissions. We also are responsible for monitoring progress on action items within the Plan of Conservation and Development, monitoring legislative changes to ensure continued compliance with state law, and recommending updates to the Commission to keep us in compliance. Planning staff regularly works closely with other departments, such as Jeff from Building behind me, to ensure a smooth process. 2023, the department issued 390 zoning permits, facilitated and reviewed 108 applications to land use commissions, and investigated 101 complaints that were brought in. Department functioned, and I need to point out, the department functioned for nearly 7 months in 2023 without a director before I was hired in September. I give Dave LaValle, our assistant director, a lot of credit for a job well done, stepping up over that time and ensuring smooth operations and staffing additional commissions. So I just want to make sure that he gets credit for that. Over a 2-month period at the end of 2023, our department and the building department office facilities went through a renovation. Our office staff moved twice in that time frame. I want to give all of our office staff a credit for continuing operations with those 2 moves. Renovated office space has greatly improved our operations. It's a more efficient design. And we also, along with that, we've scanned nearly 800 wetland and site plans, along with all the residential site plans in town that we have on file, which allows staff to more easily access those documents and to provide those to residents and applicants more easily. So just a brief overview on our budget request. I think you'll find that it's much the same from the year before, a couple of minor ups and downs. I'll go through those. We're requesting an increase in the vehicle maintenance line due to the new GPS units that have been installed in our 2 vehicles. We have to cover the cost of those. We're requesting an increase in the dues and conferences line. There is a new state statute as of 2022 that requires all P&Z and ZBA members to receive training over a 4-year period. So we want to make sure that we cover that training for them. They're volunteers, and I don't personally think it's fair for them to have to cover that cost when those come up. So we've bumped that number up just a little bit. And we've also increased the line for legal advertising due to increased costs. That's always a hard number for us to pin down because it's based on the number of public hearings that we have to hold, which is based on the number of applications we come in. But we've been a little bit low on that number the last few years. The big increase that you'll see there, and it's a $55,000 request, relates to the 2026 mandatory update of our Plan of Conservation and Development. If you aren't aware of that, that is a 10-year plan that is, there's a state statute that mandates that. Without it, we lose access to a number of state grants. The last one was updated in 2016. This one needs to be adopted by July 1st of 2016. There's a number of reviews that have to take place with the town council, with the Capital Region Council of Governments. So that plan really needs to be more or less done by January of 2026, typically a 16 to 18-month process to get that going. So we're looking
Where
to
does that
begin
show up in the budget?
That
Page
is,
96, top line. Contracted services,
yeah, yep. So that,
Hold
our-
on. Oh,
page 96.
Hire someone to do the plan for us?
we typically do. We typically bring in a consultant.
Okay.
That's usually a long process. So we'll start that July of this coming year. That's all I've got. Thank you for your time.
That one line is basically your whole increase.
That more or less, other than the
I
contracted
mean, little stuff.
requirements.
There is one
yeah,
shift
stuff.
that I made. Go down to professional fees on the bottom, or page 97, you're going to see 33,000. It's no, our representation at council of governments that Jeremy just talked about. Most towns have that under the administrative part, not under the department part, so I moved that from their budget. It didn't go away. I moved it from their budget to the town council budget, where we take CCM out of it. So it's all in the same area now. Our CROG and CCM are in the same area, which is
involved in updating the POCD, the Plan of Conservation and Development, being that we have one? Is it just a dusting off, or is it a rebuild of the entire thing? What's the level of effort there?
The current plan that we've got is a good plan. So I don't want to call it a dusting off, but it is not it does not need to be a full rewrite this time. It is a good, solid plan. We need to update the data. We need to update the mapping. Those are the two probably most intensive things. And there are a number of public hearings that have to take place. We've got to do a large public input session. But it's a heavy dusting off and rewriting of some sections. We're also going to go through it, and whatever lines we've accomplished over the last 10 years, we'll replace those with new goals that we want to accomplish in the next 10.
But you actually do follow that plan.
Yes, we do.
I hear it referred to all over the place. I just wonder, you do have it's your roadmap of how you shape your decisions. Then.
It is. It's our guidance document, and in fact, the Planning and Zoning Commission is held to that plan of conservation and development. So every decision they make, anytime they change a zone, look at a text amendment for the zoning regulations, make a decision on a special permit, and there's 824 reviews. Those are reviews of funds that the town is going to expend for new roads, water lines, and things like that. Always has to be consistent with our plan of conservation and development. So it really, truly is a roadmap that we do follow.
A lot between you and the,
So Lou and I work hand in hand closely. He is out there looking at what properties are available, and he's recruiting a lot of businesses and economic activity into town. Our job is to facilitate those applications and those businesses through the regulatory process to the point where they get approved and they can actually open the doors to their business.
so he's bringing them to you to then further on.
Yes.
Thank you.
What do we say when you hear a lot of chatter, especially from people who've lived in town for many years, even generations, that the town is developing too fast, there's too much traffic, land is being developed, and I know some of the answer, but what's the town's answer to those folks who just think the town is growing too big, too fast, too much, and the look and feel of the town has changed over their lifetime? I hear that a lot.
That's always a fine line to walk because you want to develop and you want to grow so that you can continue to grow your tax base, but at the same time you want to try to maintain that small town character. I understand that. I come from a small town. I've worked in small towns. I understand that. I think that the 2026 POCD update is really the opportunity for those residents to come and speak directly to the commission about what they'd like to see over the next 10 years in terms of regs and development and character and all the rest of it. There's a large majority, or I should say a large portion of this town that's already developed. We're not going to go backwards on that. But certainly, if you're looking at the map of Southington, we'll pretend it's perfectly square. The edges are pretty well undeveloped. And so this is a good chance, this plan update is a good chance for us to get together as a town and determine what do we want to see with those portions that are undeveloped. Do we want to develop them? Do we want to develop some of them? Or do we want to leave them totally rural? And this is a good opportunity to do that. But it is a balancing act.
The rights of the landowners also.
Correct. Correct. And there's state laws to consider, and there's wetland laws, and, there's a number of factors that we have to look at when we're doing any kind of long-term planning effort. Okay?
All right, thank you. We'll go to building.
Thank you.
Building.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Pooler. I'm the building official for the town of Southington. The building department consists of 4 full-time inspectors that are both plan review and outperforming inspections. We have 1 part-time plan reviewer that just stays in the office and handles a lot of our larger commercial projects. We have 2 full-time administrators and 1 part-time administrator. The primary function of the building department is to ensure the health and safety and welfare of those who live and work and visit our town of Southington by adhering to the state of Connecticut building codes and Connecticut state statutes. This is accomplished by reviewing applications for permits, reviewing construction plans, conducting inspections, issuing certificates of occupancy or approvals, issuing necessary orders and notices to remove illegal or unsafe conditions, and requiring necessary safeguards during construction and demolition of structures. Last year, we actually processed 211 more applications than the prior year for a total of 4,841 applications. We performed 775 more inspections than the previous year for a total of 8,883 inspections, while being short an inspector for 4 months. So we had one of our members retire, and while we were filling his position, we were short somebody. There is a small increase in my budget this year for the overtime. We are mandated by the state of Connecticut statutes to review submitted applications within 30 days of receipt. Since we don't know what the scope of work is or when the applications are going to be submitted, reviewing these applications can be a difficult task to accomplish in the 30-day time period when you mix in the remainder of our obligations. We use the overtime when needed to accomplish these tasks in a timely manner and to perform emergency call-outs. Last night in particular, I was out with the fire department for a couple hours in the middle of the evening. Whenever they call, we typically go out. The building department is the entity here in town that will decide if a home or structure is habitable or safe for use after a fire or a flood in this year's events, or a wind event or other similar situation. We often assist the fire department, fire marshal's office with cause of origins of fires. We provide assistance to the health department with commercial or housing issues, including hoarding or unsanitary conditions, and basically if the police department calls, we just go out there and do whatever they require of us. So, anybody have any questions?
Just one. I've heard some people say Southington's a hard town to do business in as a contractor. I've heard it from, it's not a criticism, I just want to understand it a little more. Maybe.
Sure.
But I've heard it from HVAC contractor, I heard it from a carpenter, heard it from a few people. And have you heard that too? And in comparison to other towns, are they too lax and we're by the book? How do you respond to that?
So here in Connecticut, we have one uniform state building code. All the towns and all the state of Connecticut are supposed to be following that same set of guidelines. The issue becomes enforcement. Some towns only have one building inspector, where we are lucky enough to have 4. The towns that only have one building inspector typically paint with a broader brush. They're not as detail-oriented as we are. Again, we're lucky enough to have 4 people that are specialized. I have an electrical background. We have a plumbing inspector who has a plumbing background. We have a carpenter who has a carpentry and framing background. So together, we're able to really make sure that the residents are safe. So it's a kind of a double-edged sword. While it may seem like we're a difficult town to work for, it's only because we're by the book and we understand the processes for which we're looking at. The flip side of that is we're here to ensure that the residents have a safe place to go and work. We're here ensuring the safety of all the residents and visitors that we have. So like I said, it's kind of a double-edged sword.
do you really characterize your job a lot about protecting safety
Yes.
in cases where the regular homeowner or the average person may not know what to look for? The reliance is on the building department. Is this, you know,
I classify, or I try to explain to homeowners who are unfamiliar with the process that we are your insurance company. For a very small fee, for a relatively very small fee, we're going to come out there and we're going to make sure that you as the homeowner or the contractor that you've hired is going to do the job correctly to make sure you're safe in your own home and your own environment. A lot of people are just naive to the building codes and requirements. They just don't know. It's our job to help and explain that to them and help them through the process, and that's what we try to do.
I think we talked a little earlier, and you said there's also a trend that, I don't want to call them contractors, but people doing work are getting a little bit sloppy and lax, and in general, I don't want to criticize any company.
Yeah.
Just people in general taking matters in their own hands, or somebody working beyond the scope of their experience and ability. You run into that.
Over the last 20 years or so, I can say the Home Depots and Lowe's, the big box stores of the world, haven't helped because they've made things that were inherently only available at a local supply house where you can go and buy things only with a license. They're now readily available at these big box stores. For homeowners to buy, they can run gas piping or plumbing or do anything, and they have no experience in it, which is kind of a scary situation in some cases. The other thing is the pride in the work over the last bunch of years has kind of been diminished, where everything is all about get it done as fast as you can. To me, in my own personal opinion, it's that pride in your work seems to have kind of fallen to the wayside, or hasn't been taught to the younger generations that are coming up. They're taught get the job done at any cost, and sometimes the cost is the work isn't done correctly. And that's where our job is to come in and kind of mediate those fine lines and make sure that the job gets done correctly.
The fees aren't set by the state. I assume every town has.
Correct.
Have you done a fee?
I have unofficially done that, and we're right about where we should be per thousand. So our fees are based on the estimated cost of construction, and we charge $20 for the first 1,000, $20.26. 26 cents of every 1,000 goes to the state. So we're $20.26 for the first 1,000, $15.26 for each additional 1,000, and we're right in the ballpark. There's definitely extremes to that. Hartford just reached out to us, and their fee structure is tremendously higher than ours, and they're actually getting quite a bit of kickback from some of the contractors and local residents because their fee structure is so high. But I think we're right in the ballpark, especially for the towns in the surrounding areas, Bristol, Plainville, Berlin. We're all Cheshire. We're all kind of right in about the same dollar amount.
So with the cost of materials going,
Correct.
I don't know if you see a gym on your end.
Building department and the tax and the clerk are our biggest.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for answering those questions. I think that helps not only us here, limited audience, but it helps the folks who look to these meetings and, you know, may have the same questions. So thank you for sharing all that information with us.
You're very welcome. If any resident ever has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I'm always happy to answer a phone call.
Thank you for your willingness.
Thank you.
Our next group is the library and the Barnes Museum. Tom is our director. Tom, on up, and curator has a program tonight, so Tom is handling both the library and the Barnes Museum. And we are on page 90 to 92.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, everybody on the board, for your attention this evening. My name is Thomas Piezzo. I'm the Executive Director of the Southington Public Library and the Barnes Museum. The library, as you probably know, is big on loaning free books, also audiovisual, digital content, technology, objects of occasional use with our Library of Things. We're also presenting programming for a wide demographic, performing outreach, and providing and maintaining a third space in the community, a place for social and informational and cultural benefit. Our total amount requested is $1,660,987. Outside of the contractual and payroll, the increase is $1,500. So in our operating line, compared to FY24, 1,000 would be an increase to our professional development, the dues and conferences. That's for training and events as we move. They're moving back to an in-person format. For a while during and after COVID, they were Zoom. They're back to in-person, and the admission fees are rising, like all other fees, I guess. The patron expectations are going to be higher than ever with our new building, and the staff need to remain on point with their skills and identifying trends in this evolving profession. And also, the professional development has a positive effect on staff retention and job satisfaction, and of course, the quality of the services we provide. The other 500 of the 1,500 increase is to our database services, primarily for cost escalations and providing additional functionality, responding to public demand. Some highlights of our service. For adults and seniors, there's all manner of participatory programs, poetry workshops and crafting and sculpting, book discussions and clubs, educational and informational presentations and author events. We provide special services, partnering with SOCA for an all-access art program for neurodiverse individuals, also the Belong program, a veterans coffee hour, and a program called Giving Alzheimer's Purpose to make sure that we encompass all of the community in our services and our offerings. Our children's department is very vital. We have the story times and the music times. We also have programs in robotics, films. We have themed events, that Take Your Child to the Library Day and Comic-Con, writing clubs and so forth. And likewise for teens, foreign films and crafts and book clubs and gaming and discussions. Going forward, we do want to sharpen our focus on the tween age group, which is 10, 11, 12 years old. They're an important bridge from being too old to be the young kid and too young to be the teenager, and we don't want to lose anybody in our continuum of service. And we're also going with our greater capacities to be able to offer larger scale and free cultural events. We visit schools, we host visits from schools, we work with Bread for Life and SOCA and Calendar House and Wheeler, Hartford Healthcare, ECCS. We provide homebound services, participate in the farmers market and the apple harvest, and we are very present on social media, a number of platforms. Statistically, and I won't lay too many numbers on you, but some highlights from FY 22-23, which was the last full year for which we had that type of data. The library hosted 123,525 visits. That's 42 visits per service hour. For benchmark, the state average is 23.8. We answered 18,069 reference questions. We had 6,600 people use our computers. 298,794 circulated items, plus another 5,600 downloads of databases. That's not ebooks, those are databases. We own 76,588 print books and 25,400 audiovisual and non-print physical items. Our programs in that period, which was still coming out of COVID in 22, was 623 in-person and outreach programs, the total combined attendance of 21,800 people. So our reach is quite broad. But as you know, the big news for the library is going to be the new building. And in quarters 3 and 4 of fiscal 25, which will be starting December of this year and through the end of fiscal 25, we'll be in the new building. But I think we will need a full year at least to do a data-driven analysis based on the cycles of usage. We'll expect to see a spike at the beginning. We want to see how that's sustained. There are seasonal pulses as we operate. summer reading and back to school, and finals and Southington Reads and so forth. But we'll have new capacities for programs and for meetings and for casual use and a greater visibility and more community engagement associated with the new building. So that could affect our circulation with new improvements to the facility, more discoverability, more accessible, more ADA, more parking, and just better aesthetics. We'll also hope to realize some efficiencies in things like utility costs with a modern HVAC system and contemporary insulation and LED lighting, and reduction in the maintenance costs with new mechanicals and fixtures that will be under warranty and more reliable than the present that we have. So above might net out some of the costs that would be associated with the greater square footage that we'll have. But I'll just acknowledge that it's not going to be a linear extrapolation. We're going to have to see for at least a full year of operation to get a sense of what the needs will be going forward. I would like to probably stop there because I need to leave some time for the Barnes Museum, but I'll be happy to answer questions based on my lengthy 7 weeks of experience here.
Wow.
But also with the help of Mark and with the help of all the town departments and my staff to get up to speed as best one can
We
at this
could
point.
pause here and see if anybody has a library question, then we'll go to the museum.
Right now. Hope there's minimal maintenance costs.
Yeah.
Everything will be new. But Tom is right.
Yeah, I would reserve that answer until we have the full year of observing. There might be efficiencies in the building layout that could obviate that need, or it could
Yep.
be the opposite.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Premature for that.
It looks like you have a pretty fair budget.
Yes, yes, very grateful. There are no
Hey, the Barnes.
questions for the library beyond that. And as I'll echo what Jeff said, any questions from the public or from this board subsequent to the hearing or any time, I'm always happy to address them, one-on-one. The Barnes, I have a report that Christina Volpe provided for me to relate to you. Again, her total amount is $140,194. That is a total increase of $503 to the operations line. The entirety of that increase is for materials and supplies. I think it's marked as office supplies, but I'll come to the explanation of the rationale for that presently. The Barnes Museum serves as a hub for preserving and promoting Southington's history through the Bradley Barnes homestead, its collections, archives, and surrounding grounds. Our mission revolves around educating and engaging our community about 19th century life, industry, technology, and much more. Some of the highlights from the Barnes has been the expansion of programming. They've been broadening, as you know, their programming efforts. They offer unique experiences, walking tours, behind-the-scene explorations of the museum, off-site lectures, collaborations with local organizations such as the Open Space Commission and Bread for Life. All these initiatives aim to deepen community engagement and enrich understanding of Southington's heritage. By way of efficiency measures, the Barnes has secured funding for essential projects like exterior renovations through grant applications and strategic partnerships, and a focus on expanding private rentals. They do weddings and private events there to augment their budget, and that's bolstered their revenue stream while positioning the museum as a destination in Southington. So by way of the budget, as I alluded to earlier, increasing the budget allocation is for programming supplies to sustain and enhance the community engagement initiatives, events such as the annual teas, the holiday birthday parties, the Halloween, birthday parties, spring egg hunts, and so forth, foster the strong ties within the community, and those materials are just to support those projects. And for fiscal '25, the Barnes is gearing up for its 50th anniversary. They are excited to announce plans to ramp up fundraising efforts through new programming, a fundraising gala, and to provide more opportunities for the community to engage with the museum. And this milestone year will present a unique opportunity to celebrate their legacy and chart a course for continued growth. And the conclusion is simply that as stewards of Southington's cultural heritage, the Barnes Museum remains committed to preserving the past and inspiring the future. And I'm relating her thanks and my own for the continued support and consideration this board has provided for the operation of the Barnes Museum and again for the library.
We staff the museum 5 days a week?
It is staffed 5 days a week. It is open to the public for drop-ins Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, some Saturdays. It is staffed Monday and Tuesday as well, but by appointment. That's where some of the administration work gets done. Private tours happen on those days, research appointments, and so forth.
Any major repairs of the roof, painting?
So I believe there is painting, that there is a bid out right now, and that's in process. There has been some conversation about restoration of the barn in the back, which is presently in declining condition, and continued maintenance and of the grounds. It's also designated as a micro park, I discovered.
Sorry?
The grounds are designated as a micro park. It's a little place in the community when it's not being used for other purposes. And so those grounds also will need to continue their maintenance and enhancements to serve that purpose too.
So Does that come from the,
Yeah, we have seed money in for the, but it's a seed. The director's goal and the curator's goal and the board's goal was to with the barn. You have a lot of there, and they're trying to market it for weddings, showers, things like that. But unfortunately, inside the building, if you've ever been in there, the bathroom area is challenging. It's certainly ADA. Hard to have a function there without kitchen or a bathroom. I know that Christina. Probably paid for it out of top. That came out of, we put money, $1,000 a year into the town like. There's a capital money for seed, that, and then put capital, which is the.
there are projects that are coming up?
An old building, and as Tom. We did a serious. And their side roof, which is going to have to be worked on. For some reason, our fences over there seem to be a magnet for cars. So we seem to have to replace fences every now and again over there. So
No, there was a trust.
there still is. There's a fund for which there's a small fund for which goes through the Board of Finance. Large fund which revenue line.
I just put it out there, I do believe that if we rent anything or we want to expand anything, we've got to bring the facility up to a certain level so that it's attractive to people. So we want the grounds to be high quality. We want the total experience to be high quality or not have it at all. I mean, you don't want to have it be run down. So if we're going to invest in it, I would say let's work together, bring it to a point, and then when it's at a point, we could assess whether the community embraces it for these small weddings, showers, outdoor parties, book club meetings, whatever. But it is hard, I guess, if the bathrooms aren't right or certain things about it, people say, I don't want to go there. But if we bring it to a certain level of, what's the proper word? I mean, I'm a little lost for the word, but we have to bring it up to a level of,
Usability.
still lost for the word, but yeah, usability, likability, desirability, and then we could turn around and assess it and say, boy, people really like this.
Yeah. And that's what they're, I know that
Exactly.
Tom and Christina work very hard.
I know just as an example, the church that I run my Boy Scout troop in it's been there for 110 years, they have a hall, and the hall, the kitchens, everything's all run down, and they say, well, we're going to rent this. I said, rent it to who? It's great for us. But when you come to have a party there and you want to use the kitchen and the sinks aren't working right and stuff isn't right, nobody's going to really want to come there and pay good dollar to have something. I'm not criticizing at all the Barnes Museum, I'm kind of encouraging it, that we bring the grounds up to where we want to and plant the flowers and make it the best micro park around. Then the desire for it goes up, and then we could turn around and say, hey, it worked. But if we don't put our efforts in, we'll never really know, if it's a truly active and desirable place for all these new things.
Yeah.
If I could just play devil's advocate for a minute. Great job putting on events, so I don't know. Too hard with them. Pitch place, though, to have.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Tom.
Nice meeting you too.
Yeah, welcome to Southington.
Well done in 7 weeks. The next department, obviously, the police department, page 42 to 47. We have Chief Daly and Mr. Palmeri, I guess. Can't call him Preface. Yes. 42 to 47.
Mr. Palmeri is going to pass out the.
I was torn. I didn't know what to call him, so I called him Mr. Palmeri.
He's not going to pass out, is he?
Mr. Palmeri.
Mr. Chairman, if I could approach, please.
It truly is a judicial
What's
thing.
the
now.
password?
Every one of them you handed out. What?
What do you do with
A
them?
little bit of touch to it.
The one in the binder is your homework. You can bring that home and read that at your leisure.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Right. Look at that. Single space.
The other is a summary of our budget requests and the increases.
Oh,
So if we could start on a shorter document with the emergency management line or budget. That's page 50 of the town manager's budget. It shows a 16.7% increase, but the section that the police department controls is same amount. The 16.7 is the line that the town manager and corporate counsel for emergency management, they control that. So they put in those numbers. So if you have any questions on emergency management, otherwise.
Percentage seems high, but the dollar amount.
Yeah.
So it's deceiving.
Yeah. Yeah, our emergency management director, which is also
Yeah.
our corporate counsel, he and I spoke, and if we do have to do something, obviously, with calendar house or a shelter, we certainly need.
And what's the vehicle in here?
That's the command vehicle?
That's our command vehicle,
The big,
the big,
okay, yep.
and that's just the maintenance we do on it every year. Okay. The safety budget is on page 48 and 49 of the town manager's budget. Once again, looks like a large increase, 9.3%. The total for that is $7,000, and that's for the increase in the cost of the painting for the road lines and crosswalks. We'll go out to bid, and depending on the bid price, or we'll use the state's bid price. It'll depend on how much we can get done.
So we have different contractors doing this work each year. We go to bid, and
Yeah,
it could be different
not every
people.
year, but this year we're planning on going out to bid again, and or we will use the state bid price, whichever is a better price.
Is it a multi-year bid then?
Well, the state does it every year, I believe, or every 2 years.
Depends on the bid, but it's usually 1
Depends.
to 2 years.
So if you do the state bid, you just tell the state, I use your same contractor at your
Yeah,
price.
we contact the contractor, say, this is your bid price, we need this done.
And if he's got capacity, the
Yeah.
business has capacity, they'll come.
Exactly.
I tend to see 1 year state level in times of inflation, especially in things involving oils and things like that.
Are we keeping up with all of our striping and painting with this number, or is this just, where does this put us? Just the important stuff?
We do as much as we can do with what we're given. We do crosswalks now, so as the trail expands, we're going to have to do the crosswalks over the roads on the new trail. You keep putting in new streets, every street eventually has to be the majority of them have to be painted, so we keep up with what the monies we have. And next section we'll cover is central dispatch, which is page 51 and 52 of the town manager's budget. The total increase is 2.23, an increase of 22,736. And the main drivers in the central dispatch is a 2% wage increase for our dispatchers, which is the majority of the monies. Overtime, increase that by 2% so that we can have the same amount of overtime. Longevity goes up by 200, and tuition reimbursement goes up by 3,000, and they're all contractual. So there's nothing there that's not contractual.
Are all the dispatchers equivalent in their rank or their position, or are some supervisors and some staff? I see the number of 12.
We don't have a dispatch supervisor right now. We put in for it in the budget, but this wasn't the year that we were able to get it.
So everybody's
All-
somewhat
There's no
equal
steps.
there.
There's
They're
no
all-
steps of it.
They're all
Okay.
dispatchers.
So for their, just things like a performance review or something, they all report in to some police officer?
One of our lieutenants
Okay.
overseas. Okay. The next budget line would be animal control, which is page 121 through 123 of the town manager's budget.
Got its own separate tab, the very next.
Oh, I see the little animal control on 53. That's not it. Okay. Oh, the whole fund. Yeah, that's a separate fund. Got it.
The budget drivers there is, again, contractual, 2% wage increase, 2% increase to the overtime line. Then we asked to increase the postage for the registration tags, animal physical tags, the licensing form, renewal of postcards, for all that is done through the town clerk's office. We cover the cost, but they send out the notices. Veterinary services an increase of 2,000, and 1,500 for neutering, and 250 for advertising, and an updated sign at the animal control facility. Our current sign says dog pound, and it's old, and is that politically correct calling it a dog pound when it's really an animal control facility? A lot of the costs for veterinary services and the neutering, that was covered in prior budgets by the Friends of Animal Control, which is a nonprofit. They covered a lot of the costs, and don't know if it's appropriate or if they have the monies anymore, but we believe that we should start covering that cost.
Is that Friends of Animal Control a new organization, or did it just get infused over the last couple of years with more people and more money?
It's been around for a couple of years, but not all that many. And they came and they brought money with them, and they had a lot of volunteers. So they still do a lot of the volunteer work, but the costs associated with what they were spending, they bought things for the animal control facility, and I don't know if they don't have the funds anymore, or the town really should cover what they're covering. No question, then we'll move on to the police department. Pages 42 to 47. That's a 4.37% increase, or a total of $399,661. That includes a 2% raise, the reorganization of the department. We're going from a chief and deputy chief to a chief and two captain format. We are eliminating a master sergeant position and have gone with two captains. What that will mean is, instead of currently, I'm the only non-union person at the department since the retirement of the deputy chief, and so the two captains will be non-union, similar to the way the department used to be before we got a deputy chief. Other drivers in that increase is $19,400 for overtime. That's the same philosophy, 2%, so that we're having a similar amount of overtime. Longevity has decreased by $1,300. Tuition reimbursement, contractual item has increased by $3,000. And clothing allowance, because we were given the 73rd officer in January, we needed to make up the clothing allowance for the 73rd officer. Temp seasonal is increased by $25,035. The philosophy there is we have per diem people that work for our police department as civilians, and the plus is that we're able to keep our officers on the road. That's our goal, and have civilians doing non-union, non-police officer necessary work. So it's really a savings to keep the cops where they should be, on the road. Professional services, an increase of $22,000, because in January of 2025, halfway through the budget year, we start contract negotiations for all the unions associated with the police department. Building maintenance, $3,500 increase. Vehicle maintenance, $4,000 increase. In the longer part, you'll see the cost of our cruisers is gone up. The equipment that goes into the cruisers has gone up. The installation of the equipment has gone up. So we had to increase that line. Gasoline, that's a bid price based on the number of miles we drive a year. $2,000 increase in our special response team equipment. Sorry, I take that back. I said 4,000 increase for vehicle maintenance. That's the maintenance on the vehicles. Down below, the 22,385, that's the increases. Each car went up a total with all the equipment and everything, 4,000, $5,605 per car based on the cars and the equipment and the installation. And the $651 increase for the PC lease, that's a number that's given to us by the finance department. So and that's pretty much a basic budget and not a lot of increases.
So a police vehicle is $60,000, all dressed up.
Yeah. 59,465, yep.
Wow.
With all the equipment and all the, we're adding the grills for the front of the cruisers on the new ones, because I don't know if you remember the thing now is to Ram cruisers, and there was $13,000 worth of damage to our cruisers for the incident on Meriden Waterbury Road.
You're saying other people ramming cruisers, not us ramming them.
Yes,
Now, at 59,000, we got to be careful with them.
yeah. We don't use it as a ram.
So for the new vehicles, we're getting 5?
What's that?
What, we're getting 5 new vehicles?
No, 4.
The town manager 4, that's what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Okay.
That
was my question.
We had requested 5,
Yeah.
but wasn't the year. And actually, as it says in the narrative, year-to-date from July to this past pay period, we've already taken in revenue for road jobs of $378,442 where cruisers are used at road jobs, so.
We maintain the older cruisers?
Yeah.
The road, we take care of them?
We change the oil. We
Okay.
don't. They're almost like disposable. If they need a motor,
They're done.
we're probably not going to do it. And one of the reasons we switched to Dodges is our old cars, in 1 year, we had to replace 3 motors on regular line cruisers. They were all covered under warranty, but the way we had to wait 8 months for motors. So we had 3 cruisers laid up waiting for motors. So it's a juggling act.
And they're supposed to be, somewhat heavy duty, right? They say police interceptor on them, it's like professional grade, so to speak.
But what
And we're
you got to
blowing
look at is they say that mileage on a cruiser. So if a cruiser has 100,000 miles, they say the engine is two times, so it's like 300,000 because of the idle time where a cruiser's sitting there waiting to go on call. So the mileage is one thing, but the idle time on a car says it's 3 times what it really is.
So we have to then change the oil at a higher rate and,
Oh, yeah. We change, our traffic guy keeps track of everything. We keep track of every maintenance we do on a car. When we're getting ready to get rid of a car, we look at the maintenance history on, has it cost us a lot more money? So we track that very closely.
So when you do road service, those police,
Yeah, to have the lights,
yeah,
and
that's why. Okay.
all I got.
but the real meat's in this thing, huh?
Yeah.
We always like this. I don't know, I think everybody goes through this in there. I don't think there's a person here that doesn't enjoy picking this thing up and going through just to see the goings on. And
Take your word for it.
Okay. Thank you for explaining, walking us through the budget.
Okay.
So you fully staffed?
What's that?
You fully staffed?
Right now, we're budgeted for 73. We're at 71. We have another officer retiring in June. We got 3 seats reserved in the police academy because what's happened, we got very lucky with certified officers, and a town similar to us with the same pension started offering a $30,000 a year, a $30,000 sign-on bonus, which we can't compete with. They got the same pension as us and everything. So a lot certified are going to that department, and there's just not as much movement as there was. So we have we have seats in an academy, and this academy actually is going to do 10-hour days, so to get them out of the academy quicker, because it takes 6 months to get them out of the academy on a regular 40-hour work week.
And you have people to fill those seats.
What's that? We're in the process. We're doing a process right now for new recruits. We'll be ready when the academy. Yeah.
So
Yeah, they don't want me too old.
is the strategy, Chief, to have some mix of new recruits that we train from day one forward, and then some certified that we bring in? Is the mix the answer?
It's always been a combination. If we can get a certified, because we've taken certified guys who were on 2 or 3 years, relatively young, looking at the long term. We've also taken certified people who had 25 years on, retired from another department, and we knew we would get 10 years out of them. So we try and combine everything so that when we all walk out the door, it's not, we're gone, who cares? We care long term. So everything's a combination, and do the best you can with.
Is there a way to bring?
Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, it's a big lump and break
think-
it down into smaller categories.
I think in the longer version, it tells you all the different categories, how we use our overtime.
Okay, so it's in the,
So it's in the long version.
Okay, I will-
And if that doesn't.
I will look forward to reading that.
Yeah, no, I know.
If that doesn't answer your questions, we track overtime continuously.
That's always something that came up here, all the reason codes, the general overtime that goes just with the job. You just can't help it. You're on a shift and a Sunday comes or a holiday comes, then I remember going through a list with the deputy in your office with a whole
It used
system.
to be where replacement for sick time vacation was huge. That's not as much anymore. Now we pay overtime for training, for major events. So it's a combination now. You just watch it, and
You said something else when we had the meetings, that you try to put comp time in before the costly overtime, right? You try to work it out as best you can by using comp time in combination
that
dollars.
offsets the overtime, but it all's time, because even if someone gets comp time instead of overtime, they have to use that comp time at a later time when it may put us down more personnel.
And somebody
So-
gets
So
overtime.
nothing's free in my eyes.
No, I know, but I know that you had said to us, we were in the meeting, that you try to use comp time
Right.
wherever you can.
If we didn't have comp time, instead of 600,000 in overtime, would be at 900,000 a year. So it's a combination. That it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
You
you.
left your phone number?
I got it. And Mark's got it.
And thank you, everybody who's
Yes, it's going on.
out here that came and stayed, and just appreciate being one town.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, very informative. It was good to do that. For tomorrow.
Yeah, we got more tomorrow. All right, thank you, Sandy. I guess do we need a motion?
No,
We don't even need a
it's a
motion, it's a
workshop.
workshop, so we
All right,
just end it.
let's work it.
All right, thank you.